Welcome to the CEO Sound Off. I'm Vicky Francois, along with Brian Luoma, CEO of Tache, and today we're going to be discussing this headline: BPO industry shows resilient despite global challenges. So, a summary of this is that the Philippine BPO sector remains strong amid global protectionism and AI disruptions. So this is what they're thinking, Brian. Despite geopolitical headwinds and rising protectionism, the Philippine BPO industry continues to prove its value as a global outsourcing powerhouse. Industry leaders point to the country's expanding capabilities beyond voice services into legal, medical, and animation BPO as proof of its evolving relevance.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this headline and this article just kind of dovetails into what we've been saying over the last year, especially as AI started, exploded onto the scene. And there was initially a lot of conversation. And I think we talked about it on CEO Sound Off as well, as is this going to be the death of the BPO industry? Or is AI going to take over all those jobs and we're not going to, need offices in the Philippines anymore? And what I said at the time was, it's going to be a boom for the BPO industry because you're going to be able to raise the floor of your most junior employees. And I know I've seen that with my own work, but also for everyone on the team at Tache and all of our staff, is that all of a sudden the emails are a lot more polished. The reports are a lot more well thought out. The floor of work has just risen to another level. And I think I've seen that with all of the Tache employees, is that the quality of the work that's coming out of our offices is at another level. And the BPO industry and the idea of outsourcing or having an offshore team in the Philippines was already gaining steam with 2020 and the pandemic and people going remote and nobody being in the office and deciding we can do this remotely. Well, if we're doing it remotely, why not look at doing it in the Philippines? And that momentum has just continued to grow as clients or companies in the U.S. are thinking about, hey, not only can we do this offshore and we can have an offshore team, that work is now even better than it was before because we're implementing AI into the workflow, and now that junior level work is at another level. And so when the team brought this article, I was like, that just makes perfect sense. It's exactly what we kind of expected to happen, and it's really happening. Additionally, I think that the difficulty of U.S. companies to get their employees to come back into the office, they're trying to find places where they can get people in the office. And in the Philippines, they're having people come back into the office is a lot easier, I think. And so the fact that you've got a population that's willing to go into the office, does great work, and now even does better work with the help of AI, really has made the attractiveness of opening an office in the Philippines even greater. So it really kind of accentuates what I thought would happen and is now happening.
100% agreed. One more thing I'll say is the U.S. has added over 1,000 new millionaires a day last year, UBS report. So the UBS created 379,000 new millionaires in 2024 amid wealth surges. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it really kind of aligns with the growing disparity of classes in the U.S. Unfortunately, the rich are getting richer, and not that the poor are getting poor, but they're not keeping up with inflation. Right. And there was a surge after 2020 of the bottom half of the worker scale to having a lot of salary strength or whatever, where they could change jobs, they could demand raises, and we saw salaries increase to actually to beat inflation, and so that was good. But what's happened more recently is that the despite what some people might say, the economy starts stagnating a little bit, and that means that U.S. companies are having more difficulty hiring people, but their companies are still doing well, and so there's a kind of a mix, if you will, of the high end or the upper end is doing well, and that's why you've got a lot of millionaires being created. But I think there's a lot of hesitancy on the company side as far as hiring, which means that they're looking for other markets to grow their teams. If you're scared to hire people because you can't afford the salaries that have been created, and immigration's down,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
the workforce isn't as grow. We're in a situation where the labor market in the U.S. is really kind of stagnating, where companies aren't letting people go necessarily, so the unemployment's not going down. You're not bringing in new immigrants, so you don't have a growing employee base, and so it's a kind of a stagnating situation. And they're trying to well, how do we grow these businesses, because the economy still is growing,
Right, right.
and so they're looking for places like in the Philippines to grow their offices, and so we've seen that. 2025 is turning into a record year for us, and that's because a number of our clients are really doubling down on their sizes of their teams in the Philippines, because companies are doing well.
Yeah.
It's not gangbusters, but they're growing. They're continuing to grow, but you just can't find the employees in the U.S. right now.
Agreed. Well, thank you for your take on that. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the CEO Sound Off. We'd like for you to engage with us. So like, comment, subscribe, and leave us a comment. We'll write back to you soon. Thanks for
Thank
joining
you.
us.